And welcome back to another edition of the EDF College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Johnston. I'm joined by the one and only Lamar Fields and the one and only Paul Casanova. And gentlemen, what a weekend of college football it was. I'm just going to throw it straight at you guys. Lamar, you first. What were your first two games that stood out to you and why?
Ohio State Notre Dame game stood out. Of course, that was a close game. I figured it'd be a hard fought battle to come down to the end. Some questionable coaching mistakes by Ohio State, but they still came out with the victory. Secondly, Alabama played decent. I expected more from Ole Miss, like chance to survive that about Alabama having probably having a down season. Chance for y'all to go in there to get an upset and lose by what, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. How about you, Paul?
Um, I'm surprised at the Colorado game, and not because of the outcome of the game, but because of the attitude and backlash of people after that game. I mean, I think we talked about it last show even. What did anybody expect? Like it was supposed to go that way. Maybe not as harsh as it did, but I mean it was supposed to go that way. So like the best team won like they should have. He got a loss. It's not a big deal. I'm just surprised at the way the country has kind of been so bad as they have on them.
Any other
Um,
game?
yeah. Other than that, I kind of like uh, the Notre Dame game. That surprised me a little bit because I expected one of the two to be better, and it was Notre Dame. Even because of those questionable calls he was talking about. Like they had opportunities, and I thought they were better than they were. So that game just it kind of shocked me. It made for a good game, though. I mean, it was,
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, the two that stood out the most is probably the Florida State Clemson game. I honestly did not see that game going to overtime. And it kind of proved to me that even though Dabu Sweeney may have found a kicker in the most vital point where he needed that kick to come through and it didn't, it kind of surprised me that Florida State really put themselves in a situation where they had to win it in overtime. I think that even though you won the game in overtime, I think it still shows that you probably should have won that game in regulation, and you let Clemson stick around. And then on top of that, I actually just want to touch on the Oregon and Colorado game because the thing is I didn't expect Colorado to lose that bad. But like you even said, Paul, it's the attitude that people are showing. A lot of these people that get on social media and they say this stuff, I think it's like, how about this? How about you can show me that you'd be a better head coach than Deion Sanders and you can turn a program around like that? Because I think if you ask all the college football coaches that have actually turned around a program, it's not going to happen like that, and it never will because there's a lot of attitude you got to check into these players. There's a lot of work ethics and so on and so forth. But now, touching on to that, based off the loss that Colorado has, where do you see the program moving forward from that loss at Oregon?
Lamar.
Anybody can go.
Yeah,
For
Paul.
me, I see it going the same way this week. I mean, I think USC is going to put a hurting on them as well. I think it should be because USC is a better team. But I see Colorado still getting some quality wins down the road. I mean, to me, everything's going the way it should have. Just like you said, it takes time. And no, if you expected them to like be in the playoffs this year, you were crazy. Like they had a good start to the season. That's great because that's great for what he's doing. Shows that it's working. But come on, it's going like it should. And I expect USC to do what they're supposed to do next week to them. And Colorado will still win some good games down the road, and it'll be a good season for them. Maybe they'll even get into a bowl.
You, Lamar?
Yeah, I see USC putting up probably like 40 plus points, but I also see, I think Colorado put up more than six, being at home and all that adrenaline. And you watch USC Saturday night, ASU could put up 28 points. I think Colorado could put up some points, but they'll be 3-2 after this week. But they got Arizona State, was a winnable game.
Mm-hmm.
After that, they got Stanford. That's a very winnable game. So I mean, it's going
Mm-hmm.
where it's supposed to go. Like I said, 6 or 7 wins and get
Get
season
that,
and come back.
yeah,
Get,
get
get,
that bowl
get
game.
that good bowl game and get the recruiting trails and transfer portal and get that defense and offensive line fixed. Pretty much all
Can,
they need, what they need
can
to
you
do.
ask for anything more than a bowl after winning one game the season before? I mean,
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah,
that would be such a quality season, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Colorado's already won this season based off their performance last year. I mean, you look at a team that only had one win last year, and
Mhm.
I think that there's three things going in Colorado's favor. You already were, 3-0 or whatever the case is coming into this game, and you already have every single home game sold out on top of that.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
all Dion needs to do is just get them to 5 or 6 wins, get them a nice, bowl game and stuff like that. Like, to me, Colorado's already won. It's just he's just got to turn that page and get that momentum moving. Now, based off the other games that we've highlighted, I'll just run down them quick. Washington State beat Oregon State 38-35. I know Lamar was touching on that, saying that was going to be a good game. LSU beat Arkansas 34-31. Utah beat UCLA 14-7. I kind of find that a little weird, but it is what it is. We already mentioned Clemson.
What the fact that there was defense in the Pac-12?
Defense didn't
Yeah,
play, yeah.
yeah. But we already touched on, Oregon and Buffalo. And then here's one thing I want to point out. Not that I'm a Penn State alum and I'm a harp on this, but Penn State came out and really showed their defense, even minus the 2 starting tailbacks and the starting tight end. It just seemed like Iowa really couldn't get nothing mustered at all. And on top of that, it was the second largest crowd in Beaver Stadium history, 110,830. And then ultimately, Ohio State squeezes past Notre Dame on the final drive and gets that touchdown. A little bit to knock on that Notre Dame game. What did you guys think of Kyle McCord's overall performance in that game?
He was not too good overall, but hey, when it mattered, a big college game on the road, and he made some tough passes and got the job done, even after a horrible call by his coach on that 4th-and-1 play when he just ran a quarterback sneak to get an inch, and he ran that little jet sweep. I mean, that's a big win for him. I mean, his numbers don't look all that great, but that fourth quarter in a hostile environment, he got the job done. So that goes a long way.
It does, and you know what? I think to even go just a little further, like we were talking about, almost even Florida State, they go hand in hand here. Maybe when you get those tough games like that, the fact that you pulled it out like you did by either of them, when you come through at the end, that shows that resilience. You're going to have those tough games, and if you blow those tough games, that's what gives the difference between a mediocre team and a good team, or a mediocre player and a good player. So these guys coming through like that. Florida State, the quarterback. That's just like, to me, it just shows growth.
And I don't even like Ohio State, but I like
yeah.
it. I like Ryan Day after the game going at Lou Holtz. That was funny to me.
No, I mean that's true though. That is fun. I mean, you want to go after family. I mean, it's like Ryan Day was even saying these kids had one bad half last year, and it's just like in some ways that's where I kind of say I understand that the talk and the trash talk and all that, but sometimes it's just better to keep your mouth shut and just go out there and show it. Don't say it, just show it and stuff like that. But now moving into some questions, because this what I was primarily looking at. I'm not really going to ask much about the Big Ten just because of this week, the way everything went down, especially with the prominent programs that were playing. We kind of just seen, maybe Ohio State does have some questions, but Penn State, on the other hand, they got out of there with a nitty-gritty victory that they needed. But right now, what I want to focus on is even though we say that the AP top 25 poll doesn't necessarily measure a lot because teams do grow week to week and stuff. What I got was there are at the moment six Pac 12 programs in the top 25, three from the Big Ten, seven from the SEC, and three from the Big 12. What has each conference in particular shown you guys, and where do you see these conferences moving forward? Lamar, we can start with you.
Pac-12 is gonna have to score points, so it's exciting to watch. Any division that score points. SEC always gonna have quite amount of teams in there. I mean, Big 10, but three teams in. I mean, start those three teams. Wisconsin kind of playing all right. The rest of the divisions is like mediocre. ACC, Florida State, Miami's on the rise again. Glad to see Miami playing well. Just still got a long way to still ways to go in the season. Some teams that are struggling right now might not be struggling in the next month or so. You know what outside always is. It always falters. Some teams like to come out hot, then towards the end of the season start tailing off, and vice versa.
To me, what conference doesn't get enough attention is the Big 12. And I know you said what do they have? Three? They
Yeah.
have three in like they have good teams, man, and it's almost like they're being overlooked this time around. And actually, it's funny because they always get overlooked, and then all of a sudden, there's one of them sneaks in at the end and gets in the playoffs, and everybody then goes and realizes, oh, the Big 12 can still play football, and they're actually going to get better next year with their people there, even though they're losing some. So the Big 12, I think, is a little overlooked, and Lamar had it was spot on with the Pac-12. What did they doing, man? They're flipping. It's like they used to be nothing but offense, and now it's like the offenses are stalling. Um, so Pac-12 is kind of crazy, but at the same time, if you noticed, their offense got a little worse, but the games got better. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
league is a little better, you know. So it's kind of crazy in that sense. The Big Ten, I think they're always going to be who they are. You're always going to have those top ones,
probably
Michigan,
gonna be the top three. Yeah,
yeah, you're always going to have them, and then every now and then in Iowa or somebody pops up and has one hell of a season, But
yeah.
they are
Iowa, Iowa need to find an offensive coordinator.
that's true, and also think about next year too. Though I mean, it's going to get mixed up again. Next year, it's going to be a lot
Yeah,
crazier. So
yeah, it's
I
gonna be
mean that
crazy.
those mediocre teams in there, things may change even then. So like that and the ACC to me this year is way down to me. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed ACC football always, and this year there's just not that very many big games, big teams, big ones you want to watch. Normally there's games you want to watch. Miami, he's right. Miami's trying to come up, but they're still trying again. So which I don't ever understand considering the talent pool that they have to choose from down there, that they could literally just pick from their backyard and probably create create a solid team every year. But so the ACC to me is the one that's down out of all of them. They seem to be like the bottom one to me. Who did I leave out? Oh, the SEC. Oh, no. Honestly, even being an SEC guy, I think they get overrated and get too many teams in, only because of reputation. Like I think there's a lot of them mid-level teams in the SEC that are the same as the Big Ten. You could take an Iowa and put them over there and play against a Florida or whatever, and you're going to have the same competition. They're the same quality of teams, but because you call it the SEC, sometimes they just get that bonus. You have that. So, but this year I think it's all going like it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's a crazy year because of what's coming, but that's going to be amazing. But this week was great. It was great football. Loved all of it. Can't wait for this week.
Yeah, I definitely would honestly say with the conferences, I think that the Big 12 doesn't get as much credit as it deserves. I mean, I think you look at last year with
Man,
TCU with where they ended up, But then also this year, Texas like making a statement victory on the road at Alabama, like that really says a lot. Like I think it's
And
really
Big
any
12
time.
is Texas.
Yeah.
The Big 12 is basically Texas and everybody else. I mean, ain't nothing really to be excited about.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean,
But you
Oklahoma's
got teams like
down.
K-State. K-State could come
Oklahoma
up and
State.
fight the Texas, you know?
I don't think this year though. They can,
Even
but that's it.
KU's playing decent ball, you
I
know?
mean, but
That's, that's
besides that though, you do have, I mean, all these other conferences. I think that the SEC is a little bit too hyped up.
well, it's gonna be hype if they got money and they got
Exactly.
the
Because
big
I mean, you
talent
got
pool.
ESPN
Yeah.
covering it and so on and
Yeah.
so forth. As far as the Big Ten goes, I think that we can all mutually agree there's only three mainstay programs right now. It's better to get more programs involved. I think, if Luke Fickell can get Wisconsin going back to, their days is what their football is kind of like, if you have more programs getting involved, that's better. As for the
Pound and
Pac-12,
pound.
you know, it's it's gonna be one of those things. I think that Colorado making some noise and stuff, it really goes to show that hey, the Pac-12 has improved. But as far as the ACC goes, yeah, I think this is really Florida State's to actually literally just give up, if anything. Outside of that,
I think some teams gonna be able. The way Florida State been playing this last couple of weeks, somebody may get them.
you
It
know
may be
what? I
Yeah,
local.
think
they
It
some.
haven't
might, it
been
might be.
they haven't
It
been
might
as
be
dominant
Miami.
as they should,
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
honestly think that there's a November 4th matchup with Pitt, and that also might be a trap game. I won't even sugarcoat it because knowing how Pitt's been playing, they're obviously not off to the right foot as most people would want them, but I think that they got a victory coming, and I'm not sure if that Florida State game against Pitt is at Pitt. It might be, but if it is, man, that's going to definitely
It's
be a game
that
I
pit.
would say is a trap game.
That they got to just get their offense back to flowing. The way it was
They
flowing in those
do. I
first two
mean,
games, you couldn't stop that offense.
it doesn't look good that I get Mike Norvell has turned this team around, but in all honesty, there's no excuse for you to have not beat Clemson in regulation. Like to me, I just think
Uh,
here.
I get it. Clemson got talent anyway, coach. So I'm not mad
Yeah.
about them. I knew that game was gonna be tight. We got to stop. We got to start looking deep inside this football stuff. I mean, just because Clemson not playing well, they don't mean they ain't still got a good coach and they got good players on there. And they ain't
And
gonna be ready to play in a rivalry
they
game.
get those top recruiting classes every
Yeah, I
year, so
mean,
the
I
talent
mean,
is
it's
sitting
that
right
they just,
there
I
on
It's
mean,
that
all
it's never
about
field.
how
down
you
here, but
utilize.
they're gonna be prepared to play they're gonna be prepared to play every game because they got a good coach.
Yeah.
Coaching
But
matters.
that's what it comes down to. And I know I
Yeah.
said that on the last podcast. Any team can show up any given Saturday, and I feel like at the end of the day, it's like Nick Saban has once said in the past, because he went off on a fan that kept saying, "Oh, you guys should be beating these people." And the point is these other teams still got pride, even if they have two losses or whatever the case is. Like they still got a season to play for. They can still ruin your chances of going after what you need to do. And it's like you got to be prepared and you got to come with a solid game plan no matter what it is. And, at the end of the day, hey, teams that are well coached are going to always be well coached. It's just a matter of teams showing up and executing their game plan. I don't think that, a lot of people want to rave about how Penn State's defense stepped it up big time, and I'm not going to negate that. But at the same time, it's just how much did the offense, really put out there? Was it more so that the defense was putting Penn State's offense in a position? It also helped that, Penn State's defense got 2 turnovers. It also didn't help that, Iowa turned it over on a kickoff. And, they weren't in the right position. But at the end of the day, Penn State was able to capitalize. But it's going to be interesting to see how these coming weeks, come about. Penn State's on the road at Northwestern. We'll preview that, and all these other games coming up later on this week. But I do know that it was a great game. I mean, I'm surprised that Ohio State and Notre Dame was as close as it was, and it literally came down to no time left in the fourth quarter. But I
And it's
honestly,
serious. Why y'all surprised that Ohio State won?
yeah,
Number 6 versus ranked number 9. Act like Ohio State was just garbage.
yeah.
I was the only one that picked Ohio State for the
I
Yeah.
was
reason why
trying to give Notre Dame the
for the
benefit of
reason
the doubt.
why, because I've seen too many games that Notre Dame play at home that they blow, big games. And they did it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
Yeah.
it's they got to live and they got to learn somehow. I mean, you're right though, Lamar. I mean, I'll give you credit for that. You are right. And it's great to know that. I mean, it really is. It's just now you got to ask yourself: is this where do these teams go from here? Because it's one thing to make a statement victory on the road. It's a whole nother ballgame whenever you take what you're learning and you go from there with it and stuff like that. But
Hey, all the big conference games are starting to come up now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, every week's going to be big games. Now it's going to be put up or shut up time coming up, you know?
oh, it is. Oh, it
So
is.
that's college football, right? Every week is put up or shut up.
Yeah.
Like Florida State winning and dropping. That's that's college football.
Now let's put
Yeah.
it this way. Yeah, well, go ahead, Lamar.
Yeah.
Well, so let's put it this way, okay? I'm not sure if you guys have been able to look at the AP top 25 yet, but seeing where some teams have now moved, what are your reactions to that?
I really don't got a problem with the rankings right now. It's easy to nitpick all the rankings, but I think that they're pretty fine as it is.
Yeah, we're in week 3. I
I
mean, there's not
mean,
much you could say.
I
I was
mean,
a
week
little
three, ain't much we can say. Yeah, we'll see later
yeah,
down the
go
road.
on.
But right now, I don't see nothing wrong with the rankings.
But I was a little surprised that Colorado just fell completely off. I mean, they lost to Oregon for God's sake.
Well, let's put it this way, okay? Even
Yeah,
bouncing, going back to that, okay, you have to wonder how much of it, like, because you also got to figure they're without their best player in Travis Hunter. So
Yeah,
it's like,
I think they out, but they're not far out. I think
yeah,
they like. I think if they did it like the top 50, I think they'd probably be in the high 30s right now. I think.
and but see, like my problem is like they lost to Oregon, a really, really, really good team, and then they get kicked all the way out. Florida beats a shitty Charlotte, and they move up a couple spots. Like it, that doesn't make sense to me. You know what I'm
no,
saying?
no,
Like
it really doesn't. I
But
mean,
Florida should have stayed where
Fresno
they were
State, but
at because
they had
you should have won.
that's because they had 3 unranked teams move in: Fresno State, Kansas, and Missouri.
Yeah, Lamar, what's up with Fresno State, man? Are they that good? Should they be up there?
they're well coached.
Yeah, Fresno State always solid.
I haven't seen any of Fresno
I
State
mean,
this
for
year.
crying out loud, they went into Purdue and beat Purdue. I mean, that's a statement. That's a statement victory in and of itself.
Yeah, Fresno State is good. They always been solid for they have down years. They have a couple of down years, but yeah, they go got Nevada next and play Wyoming. That's gonna be a tough game. UNLV trying to play better after about time. I mean, they schedule not really that straight. They might they might finish the rankings in the high 20s if they take care of business.
I mean, the thing that I don't get is there are some of these FCS schools that get no love, but like they're actually good. Like, I won't understand how certain people look at some of these schools like Appalachian State and so on and so forth, and they're just like, oh, that's App State. Like, they haven't made statement victories before. I mean, what, in 2007 or '08, they went into the big house and beat Michigan, like the most winningest college football program of all time. And then, like, back in 2019 or whatever the case was, they went into Beaver Stadium and gave Penn State a game. Like, people act like some of these FCS schools are not good. Like,
Like
they do have
Georgia,
Division I
Georgia
players.
State this year.
Exactly. They have Division I players. Like, it's
Mhm.
not like these teams are just going to show up and lay flat and like let these FBS schools win a game. Like, they're going to come and they're going to play.
What's great about it too is how they get paid. So, they get all this money and then
Yeah,
you go
but
in there and you
yeah,
win. Like you can't get no better than going in there and winning and getting paid. Like you paid me to come in here and beat you.
yeah, but let's put it this way though. Like, but that's my whole point though, because even though it is Purdue and Purdue is in a year of having a new head coach and so on and so forth, you can't diss the fact that it's Purdue on the road. Like they went to Purdue and they traveled in a Big Ten environment that was sold out too, I believe, and won. I mean, you can't just take that away from them. Like they did what they needed to do to win that game. And whatever the outcome is whatever it is. But like that's my whole point. It's just you can't just sit here and say, oh, well, it's Fresno State. I mean, I'm not sure of all the facts off the top of my head, but I do know that Fresno State is very well coached. I also do know that they've done a lot of winning as a program recently. It's like you can't just say, oh, yeah, since they're an FCS school that, they don't matter. Like, I mean, if you've gone on the road and
Fresno
you've
State
beat
not an
Big Ten,
FCS school.
huh?
Fresno State not an FCS school.
Oh, well,
They're a Mountain West division.
Mountain West, yep.
oh, thank you.
With what? With Boise and
Boise, San Diego State.
Well, like that, my whole point though is
Yeah.
regardless if they're the FBS or the FCS, that people just look at them differently just because they're not a prominent school. They're not a prominent program.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that
they always have a good basketball program.
but see, that's my whole point though. They are a good program and they went on the road in the Big Ten and they won. You can't take that away from them.
Yeah.
I mean, like Lamar said, they're a pretty good team, and they're well coached. I mean, you can't take that away from them. Any team can show up and win. I think that's what makes college football great is the fact that you can have that.
Before we take off, and I know this is not college football, but I have to ask you to. How about them Dolphins?
That was crazy yesterday.
Man, oh man.
I thought somebody typed the score wrong, to be honest with you, because I was like, wait, this is serious?
Dude, I was watching this because like I'm a diehard Broncos fan, right? And I'm watching this, and of course, the whole first part, I'm like just going like, what the hell, right? Like it can't get no worse. Then around right after the starting of the third quarter, I started switching my attitude and started going, you know what? Get that record, Miami. Get that record, Miami. And then we just kept scoring. Too. And then when the Broncos ran that kickback, I was like, they're giving them the record. You didn't give them. You gave the ball right back to Miami. Like how dumb could that be? I was like, they're gonna get it, and I'm literally cheering for Miami. So when he did not kick that field goal, I was so. How do you go up to 70 and then you don't kick the field goal?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you two right now. Would you guys have blamed him had he kicked the field goal?
Nope.
Why would you? That's like Neil.
You already got 70 points. What's 3 more gonna hurt?
Right. How are you like? I don't want to rub it in. I don't want to rub it in. I mean, I'm trying not to rub it in, dude. You scored 70. If you didn't want to rub it in, you could have had your guys falling down at the 20, falling down at the 10. We've seen that done how many times, right? So you were okay with them scoring. And you know what? I'm okay with them scoring because if the defense sucked that bad and you can't stop them, that's your problem, right?
No, I mean,
but I wanted that record. Why did you go to 70 and you didn't kick the field goal?
Oh, only the head coach can answer. I mean, that's just like you being a college football coach and being mad because the second team is getting reps and the second team is getting scores done. Like, why are you mad about that? How about as a coach, instead of focusing on why they're scoring, why don't you focus on why you're not stopping them from scoring?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. You're not paid to stop your team. You're paid to coach your team and give a play out each time. And if your player runs 80 yards and gets a touchdown every time he gets it, that's on the other team, right? Like, stop them. Stop them. I mean, you could have done it. They didn't have to run that in either. You could have ran the clock out yourself if you really thought it was that bad. You could have started running your own clock down,
But see, that also now tells you, what about the money that the Broncos have invested in both Sean Payton and Russell Wilson? Because, I mean, that loss to the Dolphins
I say burn it down. You eat it right now at week 3. Eat everything and burn it down because – what are you going to do? Wait till the end of the season and waste a whole other season? Like why wait till the end of the season? Just burn it down now. Start over. It's Walmart. They got the money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. That's
They'll write it off somewhere.
you could always afford to take business losses to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, get rid of Wilson
Oh,
right now. Right
multi-billionaire,
now,
multi-millionaire, it shouldn't hurt the wallet that much. It's just write it
what would it
off.
what would it cost them to go get Kirk Cousins right now from Minnesota?
yeah.
That's true.
That's a hell of a lot better than Wilson right now. I mean, it's a start. Like do something anyway. Anyway, had to go off on that because 70 points. I don't think
Hey,
we're ever going
hey,
to see that again in the
That's crazy.
NFL. You know,
Yeah, I
so
was shocked. Like, damn, you better see
that was
40,
great.
50 years.
I
And
know
like
the people that had them in
10
fantasy
touchdowns,
were
man.
just
10
like,
touchdowns.
man, the people that had them in fantasy or had Dolphins, man, they were happy.
The guy I was playing against had the running back.
Oh, wow.
He had like
I
50
know.
points.
Well, we have about less than a minute 30 on here. So before we get timed out, that's going to do it for this edition of the EDF College Football Podcast for Paul Casanova and Lamar Fields. I'm Tom Johnson. We'll see you guys later on this week.